Welcome back to the deep dive right here on the WanderLense YouTube channel. Today we're setting off on, well, a pretty mind-bending exploration. It's one that might just radically shift how you think about where humanity's biggest battles are really fought. Prepare to look inward, like way inward. You might be surprised by what we find there about our own survival.
Yeah, and our guide for this journey is Maxwell Sterling's conceptual thriller, Inside Out, the Microcosmic War for Earth. Just try to imagine this premise for a second. What if humanity's fate, everything, didn't rest on leaders or technology or even, our will to survive? What if it all came down to the invisible, incredibly vibrant universe living inside every single one of us? This book, it's a fascinating mix. It blends science fiction with eco-fiction in a really unique way. It connects the tiniest life forms inside us to the huge struggle for survival we're facing globally.
That's such a powerful idea, isn't it? It completely reframes the whole thing. So our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack this astonishing concept of interconnectedness, from our own bodies right out to the planet. We want to pull out some profound insights about unity, about sacrifice, and frankly, about the massive choices we're all facing for survival. Okay, let's get into it. So the story kicks off with Dr. Elena Foster. She's this brilliant scientist right at the cutting edge of microbiome research. She spent her whole life understanding that delicate balance, the trillions of microorganisms inside us that basically keep us going. But here's the shocker. She starts to realize deeply how the harmony or lack thereof inside her body is mirroring the broken, collapsing systems of the Earth itself. Her internal world is becoming a tiny reflection of the global crisis.
And what's really fascinating is how the book just immediately blurs those lines. The lines between what we think of as big problems, politics, environment, and the small stuff happening inside us. The story just flows between these two worlds. There's the microscopic universe inside Elena, teeming with life. And then there's the macrocosm, the planet teetering on collapse. And inside her, you've got these microbial factions, energy producers, protective immune cells, this kind of all-seeing fungal network, and their struggles. They perfectly mirror our larger crises. Think political resistance, environmental sabotage, even just plain human indifference. It really makes you question what's truly important, what's truly powerful.
Absolutely. And that opening scene, wow. So visceral. Elena's giving this powerful speech, right? Talking about interconnectedness, urgency. And then, bam, she just collapses on stage. It's literal, obviously, but also so symbolic. The book says the delicate balance she had spoken of shattered. And that's it. That's the start of the internal war. It begins with her own personal crisis.
Exactly. So she ends up in the hospital, and we meet Dr. Ayesha Patel and Dr. Gabriel Fung. They're trying to figure out what on earth is wrong with her. Her body systems are just failing all at once. The description is almost like it's attacking itself. There's no infection, no trauma. It's a total systemic breakdown, an internal cascade. And this kind of collapse, where a system turns on itself without a clear enemy, it forces you to think about deeper vulnerabilities, like how societies can sometimes just erode from within.
Which leads us to Dr. Fong's idea, and it is, well, it's radical. He suggests transposing Elena's consciousness into her own microbial world. I mean, talk about experimental. This is pushing boundaries way beyond current science, right, into consciousness itself. And the risk is huge. They say, if she doesn't reintegrate within 48 hours, she may not come back, like ever.
Yeah, it's incredibly high stakes.
But Elena, she accepts. It's this act of incredible courage. She sees it as her only shot, maybe not just for her, but to understand the bigger picture. This is where the story really gets interesting. So imagine Elena arriving in this inner world, her own body, but seen from the inside. The descriptions are amazing, designed to be both awesome and totally disorienting. She sees towering structures of organic material, rivers of fluid, this kaleidoscope of motion. It's a whole civilization in there.
It's a universe within.
Exactly. And her first words, just a whisper, "This is my body." It's this moment of profound recognition, but on a scale that's almost impossible to grasp.
But it's not all vibrant and amazing. Even there, she immediately sees signs of the collapse. Cracks in structures, stagnant pools where things should be flowing. The system is clearly under stress. And then she meets the leaders of the microbial factions. And their reactions are mixed, let's say. You've got Vextrix, commander of the immune forces. Sharp, commanding, sees Elena purely as an intruder, basically tells her, you do not belong here.
The welcoming committee, right?
Not exactly. Then there's Callistra, leader of the sequestrons. These are the detoxifiers, the cleaners. She's calm, bioluminescent, and actually welcomes Elena, tries to help her understand the failing balance. Her role becomes super important later. But then there's Klim. He's a bacterial leader from the gut, and he is not happy. Hostile, distrustful, blames Elena directly. the one who let this happen, he asks, and that immediate blame, that lack of trust. It raises a big question, doesn't it? How do systems, even inside ourselves, fracture when trust disappears?
That distrust, yeah, feels very real, very human, even on a microbial level. And things get more complex with the leader's secret. Turns out, the microbial leaders knew more than they were letting on about why things were going wrong. It kind of kept it hidden. This comes out through the fungal emissary who reveals the archive. And this isn't just data, it's like a living history, showing images.
Right, it shows microbial cities thriving, but then succumbing to these toxins. But then, and this is crucial, the view pulls back, it shows the external world, factories spewing smoke, choked rivers, dead forests. It makes the connection undeniable.
Wow. So the proof is right there, visualized for everyone inside.
Exactly. And this is the moment for Alina. This huge realization hits her. It's not just my body, it's the earth. The critical insight is that the internal web, the fungal network, it connects directly to the outside world. The toxins flooding her system, they originate beyond her body. And the damage inside her, it flows back out into the world. It's a two-way street.
So it's not just metaphorical.
Not at all. It fundamentally challenges how we separate personal health from environmental health. The book argues they are intrinsically physically linked. Taking care of yourself becomes an ecological act.
Which makes the body a literal microcosm. Everything we consume, produce. It doesn't just disappear away, it cycles. But even with this proof, the leaders don't just jump on board, right? Klim and Vextrix especially. Their instinct is self-preservation, protecting their own factions first. Alina's pushing for this bigger picture view, tackling both internal and external collapse, but they resist.
Yeah, that resistance is key. It mirrors exactly what we see on a bigger scale, doesn't it? Prioritizing immediate survival over addressing root causes.
It really does. Why is it so hard for any system, a body, a society, to look beyond the immediate threat to what's actually causing it?
Well, I think it speaks to how difficult systemic change really is. Their instinct is survival within the boundaries they know, even if those boundaries are being poisoned from the outside. The book does a great job showing how shifting from isolated survival to realizing you share a destiny with others, even those outside your immediate system, is maybe the biggest hurdle. Alina has to bridge that gap for them.
Okay, so this realization, the growing crisis, it pushes them into the first battle. It's for the lungs. External pathogens are adapting, hitting vital systems. And what's really striking is how divided the microbes are at first. Even facing this huge danger, the old rivalries, the distrust, it's still there. Alina has to basically force them to unite. Put aside the squabbles for the greater good. It's a real lesson in crisis leadership.
Absolutely, and during that battle, you see these incredible moments of coordination finally happening. Things they couldn't do before. Vextrix's immune forces, they launch these precise strikes. Klim's gut bacteria, despite his earlier hostility, start supplying vital energy to the front lines. Glistra's sequestrons form these radiant barriers, neutralizing toxins and threats. And the fungal emissaries are like battlefield command, relaying real-time updates. It leads to what the book calls a fragile victory. And connecting that to the bigger picture, it's like how societies often unite in a crisis, right?
Right, but then drift apart again.
Exactly. The book suggests that real progress needs more than just reacting. It needs sustained collaboration, even when things seem calm.
And holding that fragile collaboration together at the center of it all is the fungal web. It's presented as more than just communication, it's a lifeline. It symbolizes all those invisible threads connecting life inside Alina and, crucially, outside too. The factions, even though they're exhausted, they understand how vital it is. They pour resources into strengthening and expanding it. It becomes the physical manifestation of their shared commitment.
Which then leads to the first expansion. Alina literally feels this surge of connection as the web reaches out, links with external systems. It's intense. She gets these simultaneous images flooding her mind, signs of recovery, like clearing rivers, but also ongoing destruction, like factories still polluting. This constant back and forth hammers home that theme of interconnectedness. Progress isn't neat or linear. The internal fight is always tied to the messy external reality.
It really drives home that idea, unity as survival. These microbial alliances forming around the web, it's the only path forward for them. But like you said, the internal struggle isn't in a vacuum. The book constantly links it back to the external world, where the results are. Well, mixed. Change is hard out there too.
That's right. While things are starting to balance inside Alina, the outside world pushes back hard. You have factory owners actually increasing emissions, politicians stirring up fear, calling the positive changes unproven experiments. It's that classic conflict, isn't it? Short-term self-interest versus long-term well-being.
The resistance, yeah.
And what makes these external villains feel kind of real is that they represent those entrenched systems, those beliefs that just prioritize immediate gain over planetary health. It's a familiar story.
But against that resistance, you also see hope. The book introduces grassroots movements gaining strength. We meet Layla, this young, determined activist. She's working with communities, making real changes on the ground, and you see concrete examples of recovery start to pop up. Rivers once clogged with waste sparkling with newfound clarity. Barren fields blooming with green shoots.
That bottom-up change, it's powerful.
It really is. It shows how change often sparks from the ground up, even when the big systems resist.
And as these local successes mount up, become harder to ignore, public opinion starts to shift. It's not a tidal wave, but it's a definite glimmer of hope. So what's the takeaway? It's not a simple win, not at all. It's this constant push and pull. It reminds you that huge change is rarely a straight line. It's always a choice, always an effort.
Which sets the stage for the climax, Elena's ultimate sacrifice during the final battle. The pathogens launch this massive coordinated assault right on the neural core, the absolute heart of the fungal web's coordination. Things look incredibly bleak. The book describes cracks begin to form along the neural core. The whole system is on the verge of collapse.
And right then, in that critical moment, Elena makes this profound choice. She decides to integrate herself fully, completely, with the fungal web. This is despite the fungal emissary warning her very clearly. Host, if you integrate fully with the web, you may not return. Become lost in it.
Wow.
But her resolve is absolute. She says, if I don't, none of us will. It's total selflessness. Transcending her individual survival for the sake of the whole system, she basically becomes the infrastructure of hope.
Her sacrifice ensures the balance holds. The book literally says, her presence is the web now. It adds this really deep, almost spiritual dimension, doesn't it? Like an incarnation. She becomes part of the very system she fought to save.
Yeah, her consciousness isn't just guiding it anymore. It is the guidance, the living architecture holding everything in balance.
And the result? A new era begins. Inside Lena's body, there's this state called harmony within. The factions aren't just coexisting, they're working in genuine unity. They're healed by that shared purpose.
Yeah, you hear from the leaders again. Klim, the once distrustful bacteria leader, says, we don't hoard anymore, we share, and we're stronger for it. And Vextrix, the immune commander, admits, we adapt not just to threats, but to each other. Clystra, the sequestran leader, she becomes this steady beacon of trust. It's not just peace, it's a dynamic, cooperative flourishing.
And mirroring that internal shift, there's a tangible global shift outside. Rivers clearing, forests regrowing, communities thriving. Elena's essence, now part of the web, continues to guide this healing. As the book puts it, her essence woven into the balance she had fought to protect. She's this constant, quiet presence sustaining the regeneration.
It makes a powerful case that deep, lasting change needs a fundamental shift in our collective consciousness, right? Our rewiring of our own internal systems.
The core message really lands. Balance as a choice. Elena's legacy isn't a magic fix, it's this living bridge, this connection that endures if balance is chosen.
And her faint voice, heard through the web, keeps reinforcing that. The balance will hold if we choose to protect it. It's a constant invitation, isn't it, for us, for humanity, to align our internal worlds with our external ones. To realize that true sustainability isn't a destination, it's a continuous act of choosing harmony over discord. It leaves you realizing the battle for Earth isn't just out there, it's deeply, intricately, and constantly within us, too.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've taken today, diving deep into Maxwell Sterling's Inside Out, the Microcosmic War for Earth. We've explored these amazing parallels between our own internal health and the planet's well-being. It really highlights the power of interconnectedness, of unity, and that constant conscious choice we have to make for balance.
It really does make you stop and think, doesn't it? What unseen battles might be happening inside you right now? And how do they reflect the bigger world around us? And maybe even more pointedly, how much responsibility do we actually bear for the systems that sustain us, both the ones inside our skin and the ones outside? It's a reminder that our personal choices ripple out, often in ways we barely comprehend.
Really powerful questions to sit with.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope you'll reflect on these ideas and see how they might connect to your own world. And hey, remember, you can find this deep dive and many others exploring fascinating topics right here on the WanderLense YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and tune in. We've got new deep dives coming out every week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for wandering with me. If you felt inspired, learned something new, or saw the world differently, hit that like, subscribe, and share the view. Let's keep exploring together.